Lovely to meet you.
Nice to finally meet. We've been talking for a while on
I
Instagram. Now
know.
here we are on video.
It's so crazy because I came across Martin's page on Instagram when I first started fasting. Because I think you were probably one of the first people that I started following because you had a fasting page and there wasn't very many of them out there. But
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Martin Feasts is Martin's Instagram page. So if you don't follow his page, do please check it out. You'll love it. It's very motivational, very inspiring, very fun, like myself, an upbeat kind of fun page. So
I find that fitness has to be more fun. That's what got me into Instagram. Is that people are so serious on fitness Instagram. Like I'm a fun guy. I want to have
technical,
fun. As much as
technical.
as much as I want to get into shape, I still want to enjoy my life and have some
Exactly.
drinks and go out with friends and live a normal life.
Exactly. So you're the second person that I've been interviewed on this little series thing that I'm doing. And I'm just going to ask you four questions, basically.
I'm here. I'm good. I'm good to go. Any questions you have?
So the first one is, how did you initially come across fasting?
So my story is pretty interesting. I've been into fitness since I was a kid. Since 2003, I was into working out. I joined a gym in high school. I was working out. I've read, so back, how old are you roughly?
I'm 44. I was born in
Okay, so,
seven. I was born in 77.
so you know what it's like when we were young. You had to actually read books, and like it was tough to find information, right?
Yeah.
Like now you can go
It
on
wasn't as
Instagram.
easy as this. We're making it so easy for the youth today,
Oh,
man.
it's
Giving them
unfairly easy. It's insanely easy.
yeah.
When I first started working out, like there's no information. It's
Yeah.
like you have to buy magazines, right? Like those magazines, like those things you have to
And
actually read.
wait week to week or every 2 weeks for them to come.
Yes, I had to order magazines, like fitness magazines, and these things are so stressful because they have to sell copies, right? So every magazine had a new diet, a new workout, a new plan. I'm like, oh my god, how am I supposed to keep up with this?
Yeah. Which one will I try?
Yeah, so I would read magazines, I was reading things, and the one thing nobody says in fitness is that we all have different bodies. So I'm doing the same workout as Arnold, but I don't look like Arnold. Like what,
Exactly.
So then I was long story. Well, it's never a short story. It's always a long story. But
Never a short story when it's Martin, by the way, guys. You'll get to
oh,
know
sorry.
this. So
Wow.
if this goes on to a four-part series, you'll know why.
So I tried everything in fitness. So finally, 2012, I found an article from Lean Gains about fasting and how fasting helps you get lean. 'Cause like I said, I tried everything. In 2010, I did the 4 Hour Body. The Tim Ferriss book. I tried everything to get fit. I found diets that would work, but they weren't sustainable. So finally, I found an article about fasting from Martin Burkhan, Lean Gains. I read it. I'm like, this is so weird. It was so different that you had to read it. Like, how could I skip breakfast? And full disclosure, I love breakfast food, but I'm not a breakfast eater. Like, I don't need to eat
Yeah,
first
you see,
thing.
this is the difference that people don't. Breakfast foods is one thing, breakfast is another thing. You don't have to eat your breakfast foods in the morning. You can still have your breakfast food like you do, and I do, at 6 or 7 o'clock in the
I love
evening and
bacon.
enjoy it.
Well, here's the thing, though. So a lot of breakfast. So the whole story of bacon is it's all marketing, right? The guy wanted to sell more bacon, so he got doctors to say that bacon's good, which bacon is good. You don't have to eat it first thing in the morning. It's all marketing. Like, why not have chicken for breakfast or first thing in the morning? It's so
Mm.
weird.
And I think it's all cultural. Do you not think like where I was brought up and where you were brought up and where
Yeah.
like the whole world, like the food I have available to me is different than the food you have available to you. Like,
You know, it's funny because so every article told me I had to eat breakfast, right? Because like they said, like bodybuilding magazines are like you got to eat every 2 hours. So you read this like okay, it makes sense, but then when you actually try to do that, it's impossible, right? Because you have a life. Like who has time to eat every 2 hours or
yeah.
6 meals a day?
And I used to be the same every 2 to 3 hours to keep your metabolism burning. That's what you think.
It's the stupidest thing ever. And it's like that makes okay. If you work from home and you have a private chef, yeah. If you have any sense of a life, it's like, what? I'm out. I'm on the
You,
hike.
you don't go around on your hike with your little bum bag having all your little snacks there ready
No,
to
no,
have
definitely
every
not.
day.
So I was actually in Poland. My family's from Europe. I have a European passport, actually. I was in
Oh, very
Poland.
good.
And I remember I wanted to get breakfast, and they're like, yeah, we don't do breakfast here. And I realized it's a North American thing. In North America, breakfast is the most marketed meal.
Well, Ireland as well. It's like, well, it wouldn't be as big. It only became probably in the last couple of years going out like and eating in a restaurant for your breakfast. That would have never happened here. Whereas
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
in
yeah.
America it was like a bigger thing.
Oh, it's a big thing in America. So one thing I noticed was it was in Canada. Sorry, in other parts of the world they didn't do that. And so when I read about fasting. Back to the original question, I was like, wow, you can actually skip breakfast. Like I just need it. It's like you need that permission sometimes.
Yes, it is.
And like, I was like, okay, I can do this. I can skip breakfast. Like I don't even need breakfast. I would force myself to eat. I would wake up and I would force myself to have protein and eat breakfast. I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't even enjoy this. Like, I'm not even awake. I'm like, trying to make like food.
Trying to make yourself.
Yeah.
And do you find now, this is just after coming into my mind now, do you ever find now that you have to force yourself to eat? Like, sometimes I find myself like, I'm not hungry, but I'd like to be hungry at that particular time. And I have this thing of like, if you're not hungry, don't eat. So I might say to myself, I wish I was a bit hungry now because I would actually I won't force myself to eat. Do you do that?
Well, fasting resets your hunger. So it teaches you to know when you're actually hungry, when you're bored. So my biggest thing is, you're not hungry, you're bored. And I get it. I understand.
Or dehydrated.
Yes. I don't want to be the fun police. I don't want to be that guy. I get it. You're watching a movie, you want popcorn. I totally understand that. And I don't want to be one of those people that says, don't eat that.
Only if it's in your window, Martin. Only if it's in your window.
I don't want to be one of those people, but it's also like, fasting, when you skip breakfast and you wait a few hours to eat, you realize like, I'm not actually hungry. I'm okay. Like I can actually live my life. So people are very strict with their fasting. I just live my life. And when it's time to feast, I feast. And sometimes
mostly do OMAD. Do you ever do
1 meal a day? Yeah.
Do you ever do extended fasts longer than?
I don't like extended fasts as much, to be honest. I train jiu-jitsu, I lift weights, and
you need the 1 meal.
I can't sleep without eating.
Do you know what? When I did the 5-day fast, it was the sleep. It wasn't the hunger that got me. Yeah. It was the sleep. Going to bed in the night time. I was nearly it was nearly like food porn on my Instagram. I was like, oh my God, because it's the need, it settles you going to sleep easier.
Yeah.
And I think it's psychological as well, though, around that.
But there's also like hormones. There's a lot involved. If your body's producing ketones and all that stuff. But it's tough.
See, you're a heavy trainer. I'm not. I walk, but I wouldn't be a heavy trainer. You like literally bodybuild. You full on train, so that's probably different. What do people generally say though when you tell them you're fasting? What's people's reaction?
Oh, man,
I know in the gym that's different, but in general,
it's a funny topic, because if you think about it, like if you skip breakfast, people think you're weird, right? But if you chug a Red Bull or if you eat a whole full breakfast, people think you're normal. It's so strange.
I know.
And fasting is a very controversial topic. It still is. I was hesitant to even talk about it. Even to this day, I'm like, do I really want to talk about fasting? And people have different reactions. People think it's weird. Like people just cannot. Cause it's been so indoctrinated, so marketed to eat first thing in the morning, right? People just can't handle the fact that you don't eat when you're supposed to eat.
But you know what I think speaks for itself? For me, what worked is people see me, and it's the same with you. People see you. They see your personality. They see your energy. And people see me and see my energy. And I'm like, I haven't ate for 3 days or 2 days. I'm not, it gives you super energy. It gives you pain relief. It gives you healing. There's loads of positivity. Whereas if we were going around the place like weeds and eating the head off people and being super grumpy and had no energy, well, then you'd be saying to yourself, well, obviously that's because you fast. But it's not. It's the opposite. We're so bubbly, upbeat. So it speaks for itself, I think.
It's so, I know, and the people I love fasting, but the people that hate fasting, they can't accept this. Fasting gives you energy. Your body's producing ketones. You don't have to worry about digesting food. You have all this energy, adrenaline rush. I have so much energy when I'm fasting. When people are like, oh no, people honestly think, it's sad to say, they think they're going to literally starve to death if they don't eat. But it's like, no, you're fine if you don't eat for a few hours.
People say to me the whole time, I think I'm going to faint. And I'm like, well, I didn't faint after 5 days, so I don't think you're going to faint. You'll be fine. It's just your body is so used to eating every 2 to 3 hours.
Well, I'll say this though, when you're new to fasting, I don't recommend extended fast. It's like a working out. You have to build your way into it. So you have to
exactly.
Yeah. But once you realize you don't need breakfast, you're just like, okay, like you can wake up and do whatever you want. And this is the main thing with fasting for me, is you get your time back. Freedom.
You get an awful lot of time back.
You I used to always, like I said, I used to wake up, force myself to eat. Now I wake up and the day is mine. I do whatever I want to do. Like I can sleep in. People that have to do meal prep, like
But
that's stressful.
you're so busy. You're always all over the place. You're such a super high energy. Like you're doing cycling and hiking and this. And every time I look at you, you're lifting weights. You're on the beach. You're here. You're there. I'm like, I want Martin's life. Come over and live in Ireland, and you wouldn't be doing all that because there's nothing
No,
to
definitely
do.
not. But
But
that fasting gives me time. It gives me, and yeah, it gives me unlimited time. So I have all the time in the world now. Like I can do whatever I want. I have freedom. I have that energy. It's just a introduction phase where it's so tough for people where like they can't accept that. But if you go a
once you
week,
get through
two,
it,
three, yeah, you
yes,
get to that
yeah,
first month.
it's a process.
Yeah, now that I wake up, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I can do whatever I could do whatever I want. Like,
Yeah, it's lovely.
and
It's a nice feeling.
it's the best feelings. We're always told what to do, where to be, how to live. Like now, it's like no, you can
Control, you to
yes,
control.
control is everything.
Martin, what is your all-time ultimate? What's that?
Oh, it's a shot of kombucha.
I hope that's not during your fast. What's
No,
your
it's actually
all-time?
0 calorie. Yeah. No, I'm good.
What's your all-time favorite food? What's your ultimate meal? If you were going to have one meal that you could only eat, like what's? I know I see your foods. You love your steaks and your
I love
tacos and
food.
your.
So people think that fasting means you don't love food, but it means
No, I'm the
I
same.
love food
I'm a
even
foodie.
more. And by the way, this is kombucha. I started making homemade kombucha. It's apparently 0 calorie. There's a lot of benefits to it. I just have kombucha so after this interview, I'm going to start eating. So I open up my eating window
So
with
you
some.
opened your window. Very good.
It's
So
a
go on.
nice,
What
yeah.
are you having tonight? What's your meal tonight?
So my favorite food is, it depends on how I feel. So fasting retrains you. So first, with most restrictive diets, you can't eat anything fun, right? You're supposed to just eat strict. And the fasting shows you that's like, yeah, I can have pizza. I can have food that I love, but I also do want to fuel my body. So I'm weird in this sense. When I do want to feel like I'm indulging, I have pizza. But if I want to eat and I want to feel good, I'll have like a chicken or a steak.
And do you find that you pick now better quality? Like if you're going to have a pizza and you're going to have the best pizza, you're not just going to have this frozen pizza that you throw in the oven. It's going to be like the ultimate. Oh
That's
yeah,
so
with
funny.
everything.
Yeah. That's actually very true. Yeah. So fasting. So when you have a limited eating window, you don't mess around. So people who eat all day, they eat here and there. When you fast and feast, you make it count.
I went shopping. I went shopping today for my meal today because I'm going away tomorrow, so I won't be here. And I'm looking at my basket. I'm on my own, and I'm like, "Oh, this looks like food for about 3 people." They're probably thinking, "Oh, who are you having over?" And I'm like, "This is all for me." And it's the nicest of food. Like it's all lovely food, but it's like so enjoyable to be able to have nice, good food.
It's funny because when you're first new to fasting, you're gonna eat shitty food, and it happens, right? You're gonna eat like.
And that's the process too. I say that to people:
Yeah.
have the bad food in the beginning.
Get out of your system. Eventually, you get to a point where you realize I have a limited eating window, and I don't want to eat shitty food. So you're gonna eat good food, right? So you're gonna open your window with food that's actually
Enjoy.
good for you. But then when you do have a snack, you don't feel guilty because you're like, okay, I have a tight eating window. I have my protein. I call it the protein first rule. Get your protein in first. Make sure your body is taken care of first, and then you take care of your soul and your taste buds. And then, you don't feel guilty because you already had your protein, you have a tight eating window, you have a little pizza, you're good, and you're under your calories. The basic science, the basic math is simple. You burn X amount of calories being alive. Fasting helps you stay below those calories and you lose weight. And you don't feel like you're starving because you're not starving. You're just waiting to eat food that you like.
You're controlling when you eat rather than what you eat, I think.
Yeah. Focus on when you eat and then focus on what you eat.
Exactly. Well, Martin, flew by. That was our little slot of chatting time, and I could have talked to you for another hour, and I'd say you'd still have stuff to talk about. And
always something to talk about.
Maybe we'll do part 2 and part 3. But I really appreciate you coming on and chatting to me today, and just giving me a little brief insight into your fasting world. And thank you so much, and it was lovely chatting to you.
Thanks for having me.
Not at all. Thanks, Martin.
Recording.
Can I record?
Is that recording for you now?
No, it won't let me record.